Shalom, Israel. Hey, do me a favor. Turn this down a little bit. We hot. Let me do this real quick. My bad, family. My bad. I forgot we was live because I was still going to talk about that. We'll talk about it after class. I can't stand. Anyway, that ain't even the topic tonight. Jesus Christ, Israel. Anywho, all praise to the Most High God. Shalom, Israel. We made it to another segment of, I don't forgot what the name of my segment was. Sound Doctrine. All praise to the Most High. So tonight, the name of the lesson is Holy Matrimony Part 2. We still talking about marriage, and I've kind of been wavering on it. Ended up being probably 4 segments because marriage is so complex. There's so much to talk about. There's so many things to look into, but there's also so many other things that we have to talk about too. So I don't want to oversaturate it. So maybe what we'll do is we'll intersperse it. I don't know, but there's like 2 or 3 other things pertaining to marriage that we have to eventually get to and explain. But it's not why we're here right now. So tonight is part 2, building a strong marriage. Building a strong marriage. Here's the thing. A lot of us are in a space where we get married. A lot of us didn't know much about marriage. A lot of us have not seen a healthy marriage. We just come into the truth and we know, well, you know, the Lord wants us to be married. The Lord wants me to get a wife. I am burning. I can't be out here just sleeping around. So I'm going to lay with the first thing that like me. Maybe the second thing that like me. I don't know. But we don't really go through the proper process of creating a strong foundation in our marriage, which is why there's a lot of people that are hurt. There's a lot of people that walk away from this walk. There's a lot of people that stick it out, but are in miserable relationships and they cannot grow. They suffer, their spouse suffers, their children suffer, their congregation, if they're a part of one, suffers as well, because if they can't give their all, they can't be, an asset. They can't be an asset to the body. So I'm hoping and I'm praying to the Most High that people listen to this lesson and actually take heed to the lesson. How do we build a strong marriage? How do we establish a strong marriage according to the Bible that will withstand all of the vices of Babylon? Because a lot of us come into this walk and we have a different understanding of what marriage even is. We come into this walk and have a spouse that we were already with, and now we got baggage that we coming in here with. So now that we have to make the transition and we have to be different, and we find out there's this thing called order. There's a way that God expects us to be to have a healthy relationship. We struggling with that because you don't understand that I've been with this person 10 years before I came into the truth. I knew this person before they found God. Y'all see something different than what I was getting. And some people have a hard time letting that go too. There's a lot. Marriage is a very complex, nuanced thing. So I pray to the Most High that when we go through this information, some edification is given and people actually take heed to what is being taught and what is being said. If you haven't yet, in the words of my dear brother Abaya, most of y'all see me on Inside the Nation podcast. In the words of my brother Abaya, when you step into a man's house, wipe your shoes off at the door. If you ain't done it yet, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe if you ain't subscribed to the channel yet. Make sure you sharing the content, because this is one of those things that I personally feel, based off of what I've seen in my 10 years in this truth, that Israel is lacking in understanding marriage. We don't have a lot of successful marriages in this walk. A lot of people are just tolerating it. So please make sure that you're sharing the content. I don't say for support, whatever. No, you need this. It's not, you're not doing nothing for me. I'm praying to the Most High that he utilizes me to be a vessel for you to help build up your understanding in marriage and how to be as a husband, how to be as a wife, so that the nation as a whole can be a better nation. So please make sure that you're sharing the video. Please make sure you're sharing the content so we can get this information out, so our brothers and sisters can hear it and, Lord willing, take heed. Let's get into it. You already know what I want. Let's start with the first two.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, and verse 2. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law.
For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law. This is the foundation of this class, understanding the proper, righteous, and sound doctrine. Now let's talk about the sound doctrine, the sound teachings of what God expresses about marriage, about how to build up a strong marriage, about how he feels about marriage. Let's go to the next one.
This is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4, and verse 3. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine.
Come on.
But after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers.
Come on.
Having itching ears. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables.
And that's what happens a lot of times when we don't want to endure sound doctrine and we don't want to do what's right, and we feel like my emotions and how I feel in this moment trumps what the Bible is actually saying. And so I'm going to justify why I'm doing wrong in my marriage. I'm going to justify why I'm going to disregard and disrespect God and my husband or my wife. And I place my emotions above God and what is right. And essentially I place myself in the way that I feel as an idol above the Lord. And I'm going to be turned to fables because I'm justified, or I'm going to find a body, I'm going to find a teacher that tells me I can do that, instead of enduring the sound doctrine, the righteous and sound teachings. That's a problem. So the foundation of this class, every now and then we'll get into quote unquote deeper understandings, but the foundation of this class is to teach people the very thing that is pertinent for you to be saved, that is pertinent to your salvation. Being a righteous husband, if you're married, is pertinent to your salvation. Being a righteous wife, if you're married, is pertinent to your salvation. For a woman or a man that's seeking to be married, understand that once you get there, your position as that husband or that wife, how you conduct yourself is pertinent to your salvation. And we need to understand that and respect that. And I don't mean I respect your view. I respect what you're saying, but I don't agree. No. To respect it, if I respect Christ or if I respect the Most High God, that I'm going to comply with what it is that's being said. That's what we have to do. Let's go to let me split my screen real quick. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 13. I want to set this foundation first and foremost. Hebrews chapter 13. Let's read verse 4.
This is the book of Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 4.
How does God feel about marriage? This is what we're establishing right now. Read that.
Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled.
Marriage is honorable. What does it mean when something is honorable? They say that man is honorable, that woman is honorable. Worthy of praise, worthy of reverence, worthy of respect, of high integrity. God looks at marriage. You got to be one responsible, special, patient, focused individual to want to be married. Marriage is such a big deal. Marriage is such a great thing in the eyes of the Lord. Marriage is honorable. And the bed undefiled. Why does it say that? Because when you're married and you're dealing in righteousness, you ain't committing any types of fornication. That's what a defiled bed is. For a fornicative bed. Adultery, bestiality, incest, whoremongering. All of that is a defiled bed. Marriage is an undefiled bed, because what you guys are doing is more than just physical or carnal. There's now an attachment, a connection, a spiritual connection, a bond that you guys have created to be together forever. Once you guys lay down, that bed is now undefiled. In righteousness, absolutely. Go to Sirach chapter 25. So the Lord feels that marriage is a bed undefiled and honorable. Let's see what else the Most High says. Ecclesiasticus chapter 25 and verse 1.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 25 and verse 1. In three things I was beautified.
Oh, slow it down. So this is the book of Sirach. This was a man, when you read the prologue, it was funny. Yahweh read the prologue. He said, man. He said, man, this is different. This was a wise man who placed himself in a position to wholeheartedly understand the laws of God. And the book of Sirach is specifically for those who love the law to get a stronger understanding. It says it right there in the prologue. Those that was in love with, like, really trying to gain understanding of the law. Addicted to the learning of the law. So how does God, this man who wrote about these things, what does he say?
In three things I was beautified.
Three things was I beautified. Come on.
And stood up beautiful.
Go ahead.
And I stood up beautiful both before God and men.
He said these three things make an individual stand up gloriously, beautifully in front of men and before the Lord. What are they?
The unity of brethren.
Brothers being unified together. Come on.
The love of neighbors.
The love of neighbors. Come on.
A man and a wife that agree together.
A man and a wife that is on one accord. All three of those things, you can stand before the Lord and other people in glory, in beauty, in confidence. What was that last one?
A man and a wife that agree together.
This is how the Most High, that's a beautiful thing in the eyes of the Most High. Give me one more. Stay in Sirach, go to chapter 40. This is how the Lord feels about marriage. That's what I want to deal with first. This is how the Lord feels about marriage. Come on, Sirach 40, verse 23.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 40, and verse 23. A friend and companion never meet amiss.
It says a friend and a companion will never lead you astray, will never cause you to do wrong, will never cause you any harm, right? Come on.
But above both
of those things is what?
Is a wife.
Is a wife
with her husband.
With her husband. A wife on one accord in righteousness with her husband is better than a friend and a companion that won't lead you astray. The Lord feels a way about marriage. This is a situation. This is something that the Lord looks highly upon. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the Bible. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so stressed in the Bible. We're going to see later on in the scriptures. It wouldn't be that stressed if it wasn't that big of a deal. What I want to deal with first. So the title of the lesson, let me do this. The title of the lesson is Building a Strong Marriage. Here's a question. How do we build a strong marriage? What is the first thing we should do in order to build a strong marriage? I'll tell you. It starts even before you get married. You build a strong friendship. You establish whether or not this person is compatible. You do what the Bible says, refers to it as proving a friend. Before you get married, take the time out to prove a friend. Let's go to the Bible. Stay in Sirach, chapter 6. Ecclesiasticus, chapter 6. What is that? I think it's 6 or 7 where it starts. I'm shooting off the hip right now. 7. Go ahead.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 6 and verse 7.
Come on.
If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first,
Uh-huh.
and be not hasty to credit him.
Before you say, man, that's a good brother, that's a good sister, man, she on point, man, he on point, man, that brother righteous, man, that sister righteous, man, that brother powerful, man, that sister virtuous. Take some time to prove them. What happens so often is individuals will know each other for a month, 2 months, 3 months. Then they want to get to know each other. Then they want to meet up. Then they want to spend time alone together. Then, the butterflies are still kicking in. I don't know much about you, but you show me all of the good stuff. I ain't learned the other stuff just yet. But you showing me all the good stuff. I got butterflies. I'm in my feelings. I didn't fully prove you, but I feel like I see I could work with everything else. You think you can work with everything else. I could work with everything else until you find out what everything else is. Oh, that brother knows the scriptures. Oh, he texts me every morning saying good morning. Oh, he's patient with me right now. What they say, niggas is always on their best behavior, at least for the first year. A lot of people don't even want to wait a season. They get married before the season is up. That's just 3 months. Well, the scriptures, it ain't biblical that there's a proving period. Yeah, but there's wisdom in having a proving period. Like, let's be honest. Because I get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. The whole thing is I need to see the good, the bad, and the ugly because the scriptures tell me, my son or daughter, prove thy soul in thy life, what is good or what is evil for it, and give not that unto it. So once you find out he's a drunk, once you find out he's abusive, verbally or physically, once you find out he's lazy or he's not driven, all of the stuff you didn't see initially. Once you find out she's abusive, verbally or physically, once you find out she's lazy, once you find out she ain't got no drive, once you find out she's argumentative, now you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you have, what do they say? You have enough information to make an informed decision. After that, it's up to you. But you got to be wise enough to prove this individual first. Take the time out to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. What demons is they struggling with? Because let's be honest, niggas ain't going to be forthright from the jump. If my demons is drugs, I'm not going to tell you that off the rip. That's going to turn her off. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do first is what I'm going to do first, right? So what's your deal breakers in a brother? What are some things that you look for in a husband or you wouldn't want in a husband? You just gave me the roadmap. And individuals are going to play that to a T. But here's the thing, a person's true colors are always going to eventually come out. You can't hide that forever. But you as a man or a woman have to be willing to be patient and trust in the Lord to prove this individual, because if you don't, you're going to be in a miserable marriage that you are stuck in. And I don't care what any wicked individual tells you. Well, no, you could just divorce them. No, you can't. No, you can't. The Bible does not allow that. Except it be for fornication. The Bible does not allow that. You will be stuck and miserable. You will separate, and then you're just going to be alone. Take your time. First things first, in order to build a strong foundation in your marriage, you prove them. You develop a sincere friendship with them. You see the good, the bad, and the ugly in them. That will give you the ability to have all the information that you need to make a fully informed decision. And then from there, you'll know what you can and can't deal with and what you choose to or not choose to deal with. And that'll let you know before it's too late. But don't wait until it's too late. Don't jump in bed with this individual first and then figure it out from there. You're setting yourself up for failure. Don't do that. The wisdom of the Bible tells you, don't do that. First things first, prove a friend. Then you have a couple of other prereqs, right? And I'm just going to breeze through them because it's not exactly to the point of the lesson, but it is. Are they Israel? Are they of your nation? That's a big deal because the Bible tells you it's a big deal. Marry someone of your nation. That's a part of are they marriage material. I don't care what their other qualities are. If they not my people, I'm going against God. I'm going against God. That's a no-no. If you're not my people, what we doing? What we talking about? Are they equally yoked? Let's go to 2 Corinthians 6. Go to Amos 3:3, 2 Corinthians 6:14. Let's deal with Amos 3:3 first. Let's go to the prophets first. Because the Bible tells you this. You can't be marriage material if we got this going on. Amos 3:3.
The book of Amos, chapter 3 and verse 3. Can two walk together except they be agreed?
Will we be able to walk together in righteousness if we don't agree? If I'm trying to go left, but you want to go right. If I'm trying to go to life, but you're trying to go to death. If I'm trying to keep these laws, but you saying, nah, I don't really want to do that. How are we going to walk together? We're going to butt heads all the time. So are they serious about the Most High God? Are y'all on the same accord? 2 Corinthians. Let's see what the scriptures tell us to do with people like that. 6:14.
This is the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 6 and verse 14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers.
Don't be unequally, don't say equally yoked. Don't be unequally yoked to people who are unbelievers. If your walk look different than they walk, probably ain't gonna work out. Now, can you take your time improving them and reel them in? Absolutely. But don't put yourself in a position to start to fall for them, and now I have this emotional attachment to an individual who ain't even on this walk with me. Or at least not even trying to be on this walk with me. You setting yourself up for failure. You cannot do that. That's the start of us building a strong marriage. Discerning whether or not they're marriage material, which we did a lesson on that last week. Discerning that, making sure we're going through the process of actually proving them. And now this is something that I want to throw out there because people think when you get into marriage, when you in this truth, it's supposed to be just all cupcakes, rainbows, and roses. Let's see what, I want to show you something that Paul said. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Paul had a lot of wisdom. Paul had a ton of wisdom and a lot of understanding of these scriptures and a lot of experience. And as a leader, as a counselor, as even what we would refer to as a bishop, even though he was an apostle, he was also a bishop of these different churches. All of this experience he had, he saw a lot of things, and he had to figure out how to deal with them in righteousness, which led him to give out these different what would I call it? In these different times, aspects of wisdom based off of what was going on. So let's see what he says. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and let's read verse 28.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 28. But, and if thou marry,
if you marry,
thou hast not sinned.
You did not sin in marrying, because earlier he was saying he wished everyone would be like him. Don't be married, because then you're going to be tied down and you can't really lock in like you want to. He said, but if you do decide to marry, ain't no violation, ain't nothing wrong. You ain't do nothing wrong, right? Come on.
And if a virgin marry,
come on.
She hath not sinned.
You did not do nothing wrong, but
nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh.
It says, but if you get married, understand you're going to have some damn problems. If you get married, there's going to be some issues. You're going to be dealing, brothers and sisters, you're going to deal with some jealousy. You're going to deal with anger. You're going to deal with grudging. You're going to deal with frustration, stress, financial issues, being irritated with one another. You're going to have times where you resent one another. You're going to have miscommunication. If you marry, you're going to have troubles. Those are the troubles. Now, you have to know whether or not you are mentally and emotionally strong enough to endure these times, because if you're not, then you're not ready to be married. A lot of people don't want to be honest with themselves. You are not ready to be married. You got some growing to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I kind of took a different, I don't want to do that. See, this is why I was saying we're going to have to do a couple of different lessons. It's too many angles to really get a full grasp on marriage. I'm going to stick to the topic, though. Building a strong marriage. So let's talk about the keys to success when it comes to marriage. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Verse 3.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 11 and verse 3.
So the keys to success. Come on.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ.
Come on.
And the head of the woman is the man.
Come on.
And the head of Christ is God.
So, first things first, respect the divine order. Respect the divine order. Keys to success. If we respect the order, Most High will bless us. We'll be good. Respect the order that God has placed on the man and the woman. That's the first thing. How did I do this? Let me see. This is what we're going to do. We're going to kind of bounce. We're going to kind of bounce around. Next thing, and we kind of talked about it last week. Hebrews. Oh, no, I screwed this precept up. I'm tripping. Hebrews 13 and verse, I think it's 16. Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 16. So number one is respect the divine order. Number two, this is the biggest problem I've seen just in Israel altogether, but especially in Israelite marriages. I see it just amongst Israelites, period. Brothers who just don't agree with certain things. Like, this is a struggle for a lot of us. Read that.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 13 and verse 16. But to do good and to communicate, forget not. For with such sacrifices, God is well pleased.
Niggas is not willing to communicate effectively because it takes a level of humility, it takes a level of understanding, and it takes a level of patience that a lot of people do not want to have. Not only don't they already don't have it, but they don't even want to have it. They're not trying to have it. Now, let's talk about marriage. A lot of times when emotions flare up, when I already don't respect you, or I already got resentment towards you, we have a hard time communicating. Because once we get disrespected by our spouse, emotions rise. And when emotions rise, it gets difficult to get things out. It gets difficult to communicate effectively because you're in an emotional rage. It gets harder to have those conversations because my first response is my emotional response, and I have to suppress that to give you the logical response. And now I'm fighting between what I really want to tell you, but I know it's not going to be fruitful, and what I actually do tell you. Now I'm struggling between my frustration and me trying to maintain my cool and actually have this conversation with you. Emotions will make things blurry. Emotions will muddy the water. Emotions will make it hard to communicate, which makes it very difficult for us to communicate effectively with one another. Listen to me, just because you're saying words does not mean you're communicating effectively. It says to do good and communicate, forget not, for with such sacrifices the Most High is well pleased. Here's the thing, people. I tried to talk, okay, but what did your conversation start off with? I told the nigga, first of all, you see how you talking to me about him. So I know for a fact that you came at him sideways. That's not effective communication. I told her, dumb at you. I could look at how you talking to me about her. I know you didn't come at them properly because your frustration didn't allow you to. That's not effective communication. When it calls it a sacrifice, why does it call it a sacrifice? Because it's something that you know you don't want to do. A lot of niggas do want to yell. A lot of them do want to tell you about yourself. No. Proper, effective communication that is a sacrifice causes for patience. It causes you to take a moment and not say the first thing that comes to your mind, but it causes you to swallow your pride and say, I know they deserve this, but that's not going to be fruitful. Let me find a way to have this conversation where it will be fruitful for the both of us. It doesn't matter how upset I am. Let me get out of my element. Maybe I'm not the best communicator, but let me get out of my element. And instead of it being, see, nigga, you always on that bullshit. Let me take a moment and say, sweetheart, we're getting to a space right now where we're not going to hear one another. We're getting to a space right now where we about to blow up and it's about to be unhealthy and toxic. I do not want to go there. Let's have the conversation down here. You're upset, you're frustrated. Tell me what it is that you're upset and frustrated about. Well, nigga, no. We can't do that. We can't do that. Slow it down, breathe, and let's have a healthy communication, a healthy conversation about this. Nobody's doing that. Because in the moment, the spirit is riled up. In the moment, I'm feeling away, and I feel like you need to get this. That's not healthy. That's not doing good and communicating. That's not a sacrifice. Ain't no sacrifice to cuss somebody out. No, you didn't communicate. You just yelled at them. That's not communication. Scriptures say to do good and communicate, forget not, for with such sacrifices the Lord is well pleased. It is a sacrifice for me to hold my tongue. It is a sacrifice for me to not say the first thing that comes to my mind, which I know will be offensive because I know that if I say this, we're not going to get anywhere. It is a sacrifice for me to sit there and listen, even when you may be saying some sideways stuff and some things that I don't agree with, for me to put it in my mind, take a mental note of it, remember what you said, remember how you said it, remember what you meant by what you said it, with what you said, and then respond to it in a respectful way, but also letting you know that what you said was incorrect. It's hard for me to not be combative. That's what effective communication looks like. So many people don't know how to do that. Niggas always want to fight, even with their spouse. You cannot build a strong marriage off of miscommunication. I promise you, you can't. That's going to breed resentment. That's going to breed anger. That's going to breed mistrust. It's not healthy communication. We're talking about how to build a strong marriage. First things first is testing one another. Proving one another. Second thing is understanding, for lack of better words, understanding that we will have issues in the flesh, and understanding that we're going to have to be able to be mature enough emotionally and mentally to deal with that. And then now we're talking about communication. There's so many brothers and sisters that struggle with effective communication. We have to be mature, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually mature enough to have those conversations. I cannot, what's the word? I cannot match your, as my wife, as me supposed to be leading this house, I cannot match your energy when you on nonsense, when you're spirit and foolishness. As my wife, if I end up on nonsense, you cannot match that because the Bible tells you the law of kindness is in her heart, is in her tongue. She always speaks kind words. If you're striving to be that Proverbs 31 that everyone claims that they're trying to be, there is a level of maturity that you have to be able to exude. Under all circumstances. But I'm tired of, I'm tired, Grandpa. Well, that's too damn bad. That's too bad. If you chose to be married, scratch that. If you chose to be a woman of God in this walk, you chose virtue. And your virtue, I say this all the time, your virtue is not predicated upon how you feel about someone else or what someone else does to you. You're not a good woman or a good man because that good man did something to you or did something right that you liked to you. No. You're a good person. You're a good woman. You're a virtuous woman because God said be a damn virtuous woman. Period. And if you can't understand that, you got a lot of growing to do. And I know a lot of people hate that. They hate that I like to expound on scriptures. But here's the thing. There's a lot of these scriptures people only have surface level understanding about. And that's why they struggle a lot of times in this walk. Because you don't really understand you don't have the understanding of the wisdom of a lot of these scriptures. I got to make it practical for you. I got to give you the examples. So when you run into these situations, you're like, ooh, damn, that's what Darash was talking about. Okay, now I understand how this scripture fits this situation. That's the wisdom of the Bible. So sometimes I got to expound on these things because how else you going to understand? I could give you 97 precepts. I can expound on it for 32 seconds. Well, that's a mighty teacher. I ain't never heard a nigga go to Habakkuk to explain. I don't care about that. I care about you fully understanding this. You got to really understand this. Go to the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 18.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 12 and verse 18. There is that speaketh like the piercing of a sword.
I think we read this scripture last week. There is that speaketh like the piercing of a sword. There are people, or there are words, there are statements, there are sentences that are spoken that hurt, that pierce like a sword. Read.
But the tongue of the wise is health.
But the tongue of the wise is going to heal you. The tongue of the wise is wealth. Health, excuse me. The tongue of the wise is going to build you up. What does that have to do with marriage? You should be speaking life into your partner at all times. You should be pressing and pushing your partner to be their best at all times. You should not be speaking death. You should not be speaking to tear down your partner. Even in those times that you disagree, you should be speaking and having a healthy communication and healthy conversations with your partner at all times. Because when you speak destruction to your partner, it will build and breed resentment. And there are some things that people say that they don't understand, that once it come out, you can't take it back. And that sits in the back of brothers and sisters' minds. So even when y'all in a good space, every now and then it pops back up. And that's not it. Well, you need to forgive. It's not that they didn't forgive. That shit hurt. Every now and then it's like, dang, they probably really meant that. They probably been holding that in. Tell me how you really feel. Some things you can't put yourself in that position. You can't get so caught up in your feelings that you decide to say some things that you know you can't take back. Because now you done created a problem in the marriage. Now you done created a big issue. Your ego should not be bigger than doing the right thing, than what God told you to do, than obedience to God. Your ego should never be bigger than your obedience to God, ever. If you're feeling a way toward a brother, toward a sister, toward your spouse, your ego, if God said, look, if that's the situation, this is how you deal with it. If the scriptures tell you walk in wisdom toward those that are without, having your speech seasoned with salt, always speaking with grace, you can't allow your ego, because I feel a way and I need to get this off my chest and I need to tell this person that. You cannot allow your ego to supersede what God told you to do, because that type of communication does not breed unity, it breeds division. And that's what God has been telling us in these laws. When you break my law, when you go against my words, you bring more division. But when you keep my laws and you listen to the wisdom in this book of my laws, it breeds unity. Unity breeds strength and power, which is where you guys once were and where you guys fell off, where you guys are trying to get back to. So in order to do that, you got to get back to that space where you guys can be built up in unity. And you can't do it with miscommunication. You can't. As husband and wife, you cannot be dealing with each other because you in your feelings and you in your emotions and you feel justified in doing these things. You cannot allow your emotions to supersede your obedience to God, because I don't give a damn how justified you feel. God is watching you and he's saying, I got something for you. I understand, bud. See, I felt you not wrong, but at the same time, God don't care about that. That goes for brothers and sisters. And you can try to play the game and try to justify the wrong that you're doing. Well, technically in the law, that ain't, show me in the law where I was wrong in what I said. Look, so first of all, the scripture said, though I'm rude in speech. Well, that brother did this to me. Well, that sister made me feel this way. I can assure you, with all the confidence in the world, excuse my language, God don't give a shit about that. And I need people to understand. And for those that were offended, I apologize, but we need a little bit of shock value here. God don't give a damn about you emotionally feeling justified in disobeying him. For those parents out there that have kids, and you let them know, I don't care the situation. I expect you to handle things the way that I told you to handle things. Under any circumstance, the moment that they don't do that, you don't care what the situation was. You told them, this is what I expected from you. How do we not grasp that same concept when it comes to God? I told you this is how you deal with that situation. And a lot of times what we do don't make the situation better. We just get our rocks off real quick. Not understanding we made the situation worse, but I got this momentary satisfaction, gratification, because I told them how I felt. And that did what? Breed more division. So now you're stupid. Now when you do try to go pray to God about the situation, he gonna say, "So dumb, shut up. You think I'm gonna hear your prayer after what you just did?" Don't let your ego supersede what it is God told you needed to do. Don't do that. Give me one more. James 1:19.
This is the book of James, chapter 1, verse 19.
Come on.
Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear.
Come on.
Slow to speak.
Come on.
Slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God.
That's tough. That's real tough.
God.
Oh, you have some more? God. That's tough. But the biggest thing I really want to focus on, because we can talk about the slow to wrath and all of that. There's a million scriptures on that. You a fool if you move in that way. But it said, be slow to speak. Shut your mouth and listen. Here's the thing. That's for brothers and sisters. Okay. Shut your mouth and listen. Not hear. Understand what I'm saying right now. Not hear. Listen. What is hearing? I heard the words that came out of your mouth. I know verbatim the words that you said. What is listening? I heard what you said. I processed what you said. I understand what you said. And now I can respond according to me actually understanding the point that was being made in the statement that you were making. That is what listening is. So many people just hear. That's why we have miscommunication. You need to listen. Because if you don't listen, it will be difficult to communicate. If you don't listen, it's going to be difficult to understand. And guess what that means? We're not going to get anywhere in this conversation, and we're not going to get anywhere in this issue that we're having. Slow to speak, swift to hear, swift to listen, slow to wrath. We have to do better at that. That in itself will help so many marriages. Because a lot of people, the issue is they're miscommunicating the situations to one another. They're miscommunicating how they're feeling. So I feel like I'm doing what you're asking me to do, but I'm clearly not hearing exactly what it is you're looking for in me, and vice versa. So now you're frustrated because I'm not doing what you're asking me or what you're looking for in me to do as your husband. I'm frustrated because I feel like I am being considered. I am making these compromises for you. And you're saying that I'm not. So now I feel like I'm not going to do it anymore at all. Same thing for the man. These are the things I'm expecting of you as my wife. And you're not hearing that. You're not comprehending that. So now I feel away, but you feel like you are doing what I'm asking you to do. Because there's a blockage in the communication somewhere. We got to be able to communicate a lot more effective. And watch how much more strengthened the marriages will be. Let's go to do I want that? No, we'll do that one last. Now, know your roles. I like this one. Know your roles. I try to knock out this piece in like 30 minutes because we'll probably roll to like 11:30. So like 11:20 we'll be done with this piece. The last piece will hopefully be a lot shorter. Know your roles. So understanding first and foremost how God feels about marriage. Second thing is making sure in order to build this foundation with one another in marriage, you got to build this foundation with one another as friends, proving one another, seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly, then making that fully informed decision on whether or not you can deal with what's going on with this person. Then understanding that there will be troubles in the flesh when it comes to marriage and prepping yourself for that. Then understanding that communication is a huge part of a successful marriage, being able to communicate effectively. Now, know your role. Knowing your role as a man, knowing your role as a woman, knowing your role as a husband, knowing your role as a wife. Let's get on the men first, because, you know, women always feel like we get on them. Let's talk about the men first. Let's go to Ecclesiasticus. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 27. And let's read verse 3.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 27 and verse 3. Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Lord.
In the fear of the Lord, come on.
His house shall soon be overthrown.
His house shall soon be overthrown. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. Let me get over here to Ecclesiasticus myself. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to read that again.
Again, it's Ecclesiasticus 27 and 3. Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the
In
Lord,
the fear of the Lord, come on.
his house shall soon be overthrown.
Stay there. I'm going to read something out of the prologue of Ecclesiasticus. It says, the prologue of the wisdom of Jesus, the son of Sirach. My grandfather, Jesus, when he had much given himself to the reading of the law and the prophets and other books of our fathers, and had gotten therein good judgment, was drawn on also himself to write something pertaining to learning and wisdom, to the intent that those which are desirous to learn and are addicted to these things. What are these things? The laws, the prophets, wisdom, and understanding, might profit much more in living according to the law. Why did I go read that again? I'm going to tell you why I wanted to go to that.
Unless a man hold himself diligently.
You got to hold yourself diligently
in the fear of the Lord.
In the fear of the Lord, which is the keeping of the commandments. Come on.
His house shall soon be overthrown.
So the prologue in Sirach said this man understood the laws and the wisdom and everything else, and it pushed him to write this book to give people a better understanding of the law, for those that are addicted to the law, addicted to wisdom, addicted to understanding, addicted to the fear of the Lord. So when it says hold himself diligently, that's not just knowing the surface level. That's really understanding this walk, understanding wisdom, understanding this walk, the walk of Christ, understanding patience, understanding long suffering, understanding empathy, understanding communication, holding yourself diligently in the fear of the Lord is understanding how to uphold yourself in the fruit of the Spirit. Understanding how to hold yourself and walk in the same footsteps as Christ. If you're not laboring to understand the patience that Christ had, if you're not laboring to understand the wisdom that Jesus, the son of Sirach, the grandson of Jesus, if you're not willing to understand that wisdom, you're not holding yourself diligently to understand how, as a man of God, I need to move, your house gonna be overthrown. I was talking to a brother, I think it was my brother Zechariah, when I went to Kansas. He said, how often do you read? I said, I don't read every day. I said, I'd be lucky if I could read twice a week, honestly. He goes, for real? I said, I gotta read every day. I said, here's the thing. I don't read every day. But how often am I on the phone giving scriptural wisdom, giving scriptural understanding? My conversations are always Bible-based. My conversations are all praise to the Most High. All my conversations are godly. I'm always giving advice. I'm always giving wisdom. I had like two of them just today. I had one or two of them just yesterday. Bishop Tazayiwan taught me this years ago, and at the time I was young and I didn't understand. I wanted to try to understand the book, so I always kept my nose in it, read and understand doctrine. Bishop Tazayiwan said, look, this is when we were at True Nation, but we had branches inside True Nation, VOT, POP, Prisoners of Christ, all of that's when we had our little branches when we would go out and teach. Right, yeah, exactly. We were focused on the scholastics, and boy, was we sharp. Tazayiwan taught, and it took me years to understand this. And this is when I really started to begin to understand the wisdom of the Bible. Bishop Tazayiwan said, bro, you can read all the passages you want. He said, eventually, you got to take your nose about the book and live them words. And I said, okay. But it didn't register for the longest. It don't matter how much you read it. It matters how much you practice it. It matters what your conversations are about when it comes to this. If your walk does not reflect this, the hell you reading for? How diligently are you trying to obtain wisdom? How diligently are you trying to understand how to be a man of God, how to be patient, how to be understanding, how to learn how to hold your tongue, how to speak in kindness, how to walk after Christ, follow the footsteps of Christ? How diligently are you seeking that out? If you're not doing it, guess what? Your house will be soon overthrown. That's not just talking about, I read all the laws. I know how to, I know the law of multiple wives. I know the law of marriage. I know the law of not stealing. I know to wear my fringes. That's cool. But do you understand how to love your neighbor as yourself? A lot of brothers will tell you that they do. If I love my neighbor, I'm not going to commit adultery. If I love my neighbor, I'm not going to fornicate. I'm not going to steal from him. Yeah, but if you love your neighbor, if you have a disagreement, you also ain't going to call him a dumb nigga. You also ain't going to tell him how stupid he is and how he going off and all this other foolishness. You're not going to have a pissing contest. You're not going to have a battle of the egos. Unless we're being prideful. A lot of us don't really know how to love our brothers, love our neighbors as ourselves. Like, for real, for real. A lot of us don't know how to love our wives. A lot of us are so screwed up. People will swear up and down. See, that's what I'm talking about. You and your feelings. God ain't dealing with emotion. It's not true. That's not true. That's not true. There's literally a Bible verse that tells you don't vex the homeless, because if you vex them and they feel away and they pray to me, I'm going to hear their prayer. To a degree, God does deal with emotion. But you wouldn't understand that because you don't understand the wisdom in the Bible. Hold yourself diligently to understand this book, the fear of the Lord, to really understand these laws. That includes how you treat your wife. That includes how you treat your brother. That includes being a kind-hearted individual. Not to be a punk, but to be a kind-hearted individual. Go to Tobit chapter 8. Tobit chapter 8. We're going to read 4 through 8.
This is the book of Tobit, chapter 8, verse 4. And after that, they were both shut in together. Tobias rose out of the bed and said, Sister, arise, and let us pray that God will have pity on us.
Come on.
Then began Tobias to say, Blessed art thou, O God of our fathers, and blessed is the holy and glorious name forever.
Come on.
Let the heavens bless thee and all thy creatures. Thou madest Adam and gavest him Eve, his wife, for an helper and a stay.
Come on.
Of them came mankind. Thou hast said, It is not good that man should be alone. Let us make unto him an aid like unto himself.
Come on.
And now, O Lord, I take not this my sister for lust,
Read.
but uprightly.
Read.
Therefore mercifully ordain that we should become aged together.
Verse 8.
And he said with them, and Salak, and she said with him, Amen.
Why did I bring that out? What was going on there? Malachi, why do you think I brought that out? Why do you think I brought that out, Malachi? Tobit chapter 4. Why do you feel like I brought Tobit chapter 8 out? Give me a little more on that. What does that mean? I like that. Kanak, why do you think I brought that out, Tobit 8? That prayer that he did. A little more than that. What you think, Yahweh?
Because we see he laid out the roles. He see who was made first. He made Adam first, and then Eve was made as his helper and a stay. And him acknowledging that in his prayer, he's saying that I understand the purpose of this union, and I'm not taking my sister for lust.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to get the Most High's blessing. And
close, very close. Even simpler than that. even simpler than all of that. He, in that moment, placed the Most High first in his marriage. That's it. He placed the Most High first in his marriage. He said, before we get married, before we consummate this marriage, let's talk to the Lord. Let's ask that he ordains this marriage. Let's ask that he sees how sincere we are in this marriage. Let's ask that he allows us to grow old and happy together. He was putting the Lord first before he even officially married her. As a man, you got to put your wife don't go first in your marriage. Here's the crazy part. Sisters are feel away about this. Your husband does go first in your marriage, sisters. But that's why it's important to choose your spouse wisely. Because your husband goes first in your marriage, but God comes first. God comes first overall. But understand, you need to be serving your focus needs to be your husband. And your husband, if he places God first in the marriage, will also be sure to be a godly man and do what he's supposed to do. So God is supposed to be first overall in the marriage, but for your husband, you need to be focusing on, how do I submit to this person? Because the Bible tells you submit to him as you would submit to the Lord. Tobit put the Lord first. He said, let us grow old together. Please ordain this marriage. Brothers, please. Just because she pretty, just because she the first one that gave you attention, just because she know a couple of precepts, just because she know a couple of hair wrap styles, just because she hit you with that soft voice, shalamak, just because she know how to sew a couple of fringes. Don't take that sister for lust. Focus on the Lord and make sure the Lord said that's the one for you. Put the Most High first in this marriage. Because if you do, I promise you that will guarantee you a strong foundation. What does it look like to put God first? Well, Tobit just gave you an example. He said, before we even consummate, let's talk to the Lord. And let's beg him to have pity on our marriage. Let's beg him, let's pray to him and ask him that he keeps the spirit on us, that we move in righteousness. Let this not be because I think you're attractive, because I think you're beautiful, and because I ain't had a wife and I ain't laid with nobody yet. Let this be because I really want to be with you and I want to do right by God and the laws of God when it comes to marriage and my role. Put the Most High first in your marriage, brothers. Because remember this, go to Ecclesiasticus. If you don't put God first in your marriage, remember this. Sirach chapter 10. I go to this all the time. You know what I want. Ecclesiasticus 10.
I don't know that.
You an 8.
Uh-uh.
Oh, down there, yeah.
I want to make sure.
Oh, you slipping. Start at the top.
Oh. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10 and verse 1. A wise judge will instruct his people.
Come on.
And the government of a prudent man is well ordered.
A wise individual that is over individuals will instruct them in wisdom and righteousness, right? Come on.
As the judge of the people is himself.
The judge is the leader. As the leader of the people is himself.
So are his officers.
So are those that are beneath him. If you're the judge, you're the top guy. Everyone below you is a reflection and a representation of you. Come on.
And what manner of man the ruler of the city is.
And what manner of man the ruler of the city or the house is.
Such are all they that dwell therein.
Your rib, your family will represent you. How serious you take this walk will be seen in how your family conducts themselves. How serious you take this walk will be seen and will be known and will be perceived based off of those that are beneath you, your children and your wife or your wives. How they conduct themselves will determine what type of individual. They reflect you. If your wife ain't the wisest and she always popping off and she out here making you look a fool, that says something about you. If your kids is acting up and they ain't right and they got a reputation of badass kid, that's a reflection of you. As a man, you set the tone. So knowing your role, you set the tone as the man, as the leader. You have to take that serious. That's your role. Know your role as a man. You are the leader. What you do affects the whole house. They are a representation of what you have shown them, what you have taught them, both in your action and in your actual sitting down and breaking bread and teaching them. They pay attention to all of that. The type of person you are will be the type of people that they are. Be the prudent one that leads them aright. 1 Timothy chapter 5. We talking about the man right now. For those that just came in, we talking about the roles of the man. How do we establish a strong foundation in your marriage or build a strong marriage? We went through a couple of things. Now we're talking about one of the things we have to do is we got to know our roles. 5 and 8. 1 Timothy 5 and 8.
This is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 8. But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house,
come on,
he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel.
And is worse than an infidel. You have to provide. And I say this all the time. That's not just having money. Are you providing spiritually for your house? How spiritually invested is your family in this walk? What is their spiritual currency, their spiritual balance? Are you providing security for your wife? Emotional security, physical security, even to a degree, financial security. Are you providing that wisdom? Are you providing that understanding? Are you providing that patience that she may need at times? If you're not providing overall, you're not doing your job as a husband. If you're not taking the time out to help build your wife up in the spirit, you're not doing your job as a husband. If you're not taking your time out, some people may disagree with this, but there's scriptures on it. If you're not taking the time out to help your wife build up them kids, you're failing as a provider. And if people want to get into it, I'll be the first to. Listen, I run biblical fades. I'll show you what. That's the woman's job. Nah, nigga, it's your job too. Even when they're young, that's your job too. Are you as hands-on? No. And I'll say that wholeheartedly. No. But are you supposed to be there, be available? Absolutely. Absolutely. It is your responsibility as well. Here's the thing. It's your job. People may disagree with it. It is your job to help strengthen and build up your wife as a mother. You got to be able to feed into her or pour into her, whether it be affirmations, whether it be wisdom. You got to be able to help build her spirit up to be that mother and that wife. Yeah, it's the job of the older women too, because hell, I'm not a mom. I don't know how to be a mom, but I do know what I expect of my children and my wife. And there's a way that I can give that and convey that information to her. Only other women that have been mothers can teach them to be a mother and a wife. But I still can play a part in doing that. Are you a provider? You got to be able to provide. Otherwise, you'd have denied the faith. As a man, that is a part of your role. Provide. Go to Sirach chapter 36. Read verse 24.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 36, and verse 24. He that getteth a wife beginneth a possession.
Come on.
A help like unto himself.
Come on.
And a pillar of rest.
And a pillar of rest. The part that I want to focus on, though, is that possession. Here's the thing. A lot of people, I think I said this last week, too. A lot of people don't like that word, that possession. I'm not nobody's slave. I'm not your dog. I'm not your car. You're not. But you're still my possession. Here's the thing, though, with a possession. A righteous individual, a responsible individual, is going to do what with that possession? Take care of that possession. I'm going to care for that possession. I'm going to build up that possession. I'm going to make sure that possession has everything it needs to flourish. That's what a possession is. Your kids are a possession, and you have to be able to do right by your possessions. Nobody has things that belong to them that they just like, this trash. It's a possession that you're supposed to cherish. As a man, you got to understand that that's your possession, and you got to make sure you do right by that possession. You got to provide. You got to provide for that possession, like I said, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, to a degree financially. I get it. Times is different now. Times is hard. Inflation. America's in so much debt, so everything's going up. Understood, but you still have to do your part. 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 7. 7.
This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
That your prayers be not hindered. You need to deal with your wife in wisdom and patience. You got to provide that patience and understanding. Ooh, people don't like that P word. There's a lot of P words Israel don't like. Man, that got to be an infamous letter in Israel. Patience, pride, polygyny, pants. Listen, Israel don't like that letter, bro. But you got to be able to provide patience with your wife. A lot of brothers don't have that patience. You're not ready to be a husband if you ain't got patience, because you got to understand they're the weaker vessel. They're more emotional, and you got to be able to deal with that. Have to be able to deal with that. Can you provide patience as a provider, as a leader, as a husband? There's a few I want to, y'all write down Sirach 37 and 12. Be continually with a godly man that you know to keep the commandments that may sorrow with you when you miscarry. A godly man. You got to be a godly man. You got to be a godly man that's also show forth a level of empathy and understanding. That's a level of wisdom too, being able to be an empath. I understand what you're saying. I feel what you're saying. And be able to utilize wisdom and understanding to be able to give them the advice and the wisdom that comes with that as a man. Ephesians 5 and 28 through 30, write that down as well. Love your wives as your own selves, for no man has ever hated his own self, but he cherished it. So, a lot of people, actually we'll go to that one because I don't want people to feel like, well, he skipped over and he just talked about it real quick. This one is a big deal because we also read Ephesians 5 and 22. And people love to hold on to that one. Read 28 through 30.
The book of Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 28. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies.
Come on.
He that loveth his wife loveth himself.
Come on.
For no man ever yet hated his own flesh.
Come on.
But nourisheth and
Come on.
cherisheth it.
Come on.
Even as the Lord the church. For we are members of his body.
That's all I needed. It says, love your wives as your own selves. I say this all the time because brothers always go to Ephesians 5:22. Scripture says, submit to your husbands like you would to God. All right, nigga. Bet. But you need to love your wife as your own self. And I use these examples all the time, bro. You don't like being yelled at, right? Don't yell at your wife. You don't like being called out your name, right? Don't call your wife out her name. You don't like when you don't understand something, you don't like when someone get frustrated with you instead of trying to further explain so you understand, right? Well, then you don't need to do that. You don't like when your wife go and start gossiping about you instead of trying to rectify it with you, right? Then you don't go do that. Love your wife as your own. You like to be built up and talk to me nicely, right? Talk to me nice. You like that. Why you don't do that with your wife? Every now and then you need some encouragement. You need some affirmations. Why you don't do that with your wife? What's going on? Well, it's funny. I just started looking at the comments. It's a few of my peoples in here. Idaya, you definitely need to be in here, sis. Oh man. But in all seriousness, deal righteously with your wife. Whatever it is that you would, because niggas always do this. Man, y'all got to understand, love ain't no emotion. Love is keeping the commandments. Shut up. Shut the hell up. The scripture, because watch this. The scripture said, Jonathan, I loved you more than I loved a woman. No diddy. I loved you as I would love my own soul is what he was saying. He said he had an affection toward Jonathan. That wasn't, I kept the law. No, I loved him as a brother. Like I would die for Jonathan. Like I would beat somebody up for Jonathan. Like there was an emotional attachment that I had to Jonathan as my brother. The hell, you don't think that's the same thing with your wife? What are we talking about? Love is an action, but love is also an emotion. It is not wrong to have emotions and feel emotion. I've heard that so many times in Israel. I've heard that so many times amongst our people. Brothers that get married and then they come into a congregation and they lose all of the fun. They lose the emotion, they lose the affection, they lose the compassion. That don't make you soft, nigga, that make you wise. As a man, the scriptures tell you to live joyfully with the wife of your bosom and the wife of your youth. Joy is an emotion. Unless I'm tripping, joy is an emotion. It's not wrong for you to have fun with your wife. It's not wrong for you to cuddle with your wife. It's not wrong for you to have affection towards your wife. Don't come into this walk and let people lie to you about that. Don't come into this walk and let people deceive you about that. As a man, show love and affection towards your wife. Love your wife as you love yourself. You like words of encouragement, give her words of encouragement. You like spontaneous surprises, give her some spontaneous surprises every now and then. That's what it looked like. Not, I'll keep the laws. Love, see, that's the problem. Y'all think love is an emotion. It is. Shut up. It is. The Bible shows you it is. The problem is, and this is what I said earlier, this is why I like to sit on scriptures and expound on them, because people do not understand the Bible. It is an emotion. You can be emotionally invested in your wife. You can emotionally love and have affection to, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Anybody that tells you otherwise, slap them. Slap them. Because they lying on God. And then I'll summarize this one too. Sirach chapter 4 and verse 30. I think it's 30. Let me double check. Sirach chapter 4 and verse 30. Don't be a lion in your house, nor frantic amongst your servants. The big part that you focus on, being a lion in your house, bro. We know you the husband. We know you the head. For them individuals that got a superiority complex, bro, stop doing that in your house. You're going to create disdain in your house, bro. Listen, it's not. I hate this term because everyone uses it now. If you an alpha male, nigga, you don't have to walk around saying, I'm an alpha male. People can feel it. People can sense it when they have conversations with you. And you'll get that respect that you need, but you gotta earn that respect. Now, that comes with the caveat, sisters, you're supposed to be virtuous regardless. So you may emotionally kind of feel a way, but you still need to uphold your virtue and do right. But as a man, bro, you gotta be willing to, you have to be man enough, emotionally mature enough, mentally mature enough, spiritually mature enough to understand there's a way that I have to conduct myself. I don't have to walk around with my chest out to prove that I'm the man. What's understood don't need to be said. That's it. So don't be walking around being a lion in your house. Don't be walking around with your chest out. Don't be walking around feeling like you got to yell at everything, feeling like you got to check every single little thing. Bro, use wisdom. And that is your role as a husband. Know your role as a husband. Embody that. Embody that. Labor to understand what that looks like. Let's talk about our sisters now. Y'all don't be mad at me. Y'all don't be mad at me. Ephesians 5:22. We're gonna open up with that one. And I'm a summarize it, right? And like I said, this I might add 2 more parts to this because there's so much to go into with marriage, and don't nobody touch it. Niggas don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Mama Mary, I know you're gonna get on me. I done used nigga a couple of times. I'm sorry. Don't nobody want to touch this with a 10-foot pole, but don't nobody understand the severity of marriages in Israel. If marriages got on point, you don't understand how much more work people can do in the body, how much more work people can do in the nation, men and women. But don't nobody really want to get down and dirty with marriage. We leave it surface level. Submit to your husband. Bro, that ain't enough. Let's talk about what marriage look like. Let's talk about when we got problems, how we deal with it. Let's talk about preventative measures. We don't talk about none of that. And we need to. Ephesians 5:22.
The book of Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 22. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands.
Come on.
As unto the Lord.
Submit yourselves to your own husbands. I said this last week. What does submission look like? If you are complying, but you feel away, but internally you're doing things begrudgingly, if you're talking mess under your breath, if you're murmuring about it, if you're complaining to other people about it, but you do it, that's not submission. Submission is the willful transfer of power to another individual over you. Keyword, willful. If you're willful, you're not going to fight it. You're not going to fight against it. You're not going to argue it. And this is why it's very important to court for a long enough time to understand who you're marrying. So that way you don't have a problem submitting. A lot of people think submission is just, I did it, nigga. That's not submission. Submission is doing it with a smile on your face, doing it with warmth in your heart, doing it willingly, not begrudgingly. That's what submission looks like. A lot of us get that twisted. But that's why it's important to know who you submit yourselves to. Bishop Tazayuan said this years ago, and it always stuck with me. He said, listen, sisters, if you're too prideful and you don't have that spirit of submission, if you are not willing to, when I say submit, if you're not willing to wholeheartedly put the desires and the needs of your husband above what it is that you want, above what it is that you feel, above what it is that you think, if you're not willing to set aside you for your man, you are not ready to be married. People don't like hearing that, but that's Bible. If you believe in God, he said that. Want me to prove it? Go to where I want to start at. Let's go to Paul's writing first. Then we're going to get where he got it from. Go to 1 Corinthians 11. And we're going to read verse 6. I think it's 6. Nope. 7 and 8. I'm sorry. 8 and 9.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 8.
Come on.
For the man is not of the woman.
Come on.
But the woman of the man.
The man was not of the woman. The woman came from the man, but that's not the important part. Well, I mean, it is the important part, but that's not the part that I'm dealing with. This is the kicker. Come on.
Neither was the man created for the woman.
The man was not, I was not created for you, sis. I was not created to serve you, sis. I was not created to be subservient to you, but what?
But the woman for the man.
The woman was created for the man. That was me. The woman was created for the man. What does that mean? Your sole duty to be here is to serve me, which is why it's important to know who you marry so that way you can wholeheartedly, willfully serve this man. You were made for me. Watch this. Where did he get that? Let's go to Genesis. Where did he get that from? Let's go to Genesis. Let's read Genesis chapter 2. Let's read, because we're going to jump to 3 as well. Genesis 2 and verse 18. 2 and 18 first.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 2 and verse 18. And the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone.
It's not good for a man to be alone. What are you going to do?
I will make him a helpmeet for him.
Uh-huh.
And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast.
Now, he said, I will make him a helpmeet for him. Remember, Tobit said, you told us that you made an aid. What is an aid? An aid is an assistant. It is a help. It is a servant. It is an individual that is there to do the things that I require them to do. That's what a helpmeet is also. Or a help is, rather. It's a help that's meet. A help that is adequate. Watch this, though. Genesis 3, verse 16.
The book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 16. Unto the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow.
This was what was going on, right? After Eve disregarded God's divine order. I gave this to Adam. I said not to do this. Adam told you not to do this because clearly you knew, and I only told Adam. Then the serpent beguiled you, and you said, oh, no, God said we're not supposed to do this. So clearly your husband told you, and you went aside from him. And you were not that help that was meet. You were not that pillar of rest. You were not that tower against death at that point. So God is reestablishing the order, and he's giving her a judgment. He said, now you're going to have sorrows when you give birth. But also, he's going to reestablish order. Let's see what he says. Come on.
In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband.
And your desire is supposed to be toward your husband. Because some people said, well, to see what happened was we only had to start serving him, and our desire became to our husband only after Eve screwed up. And that's why some people will justify why they have a hard time submitting. It wasn't supposed to be like that. We were equals. No, we weren't. Read Genesis 2 and 18. Genesis 2 and 18 literally said, you were created to help me, to assist me, to serve me. Your foremother messed up. And so God had to reestablish to her, listen, woman, you need to make sure your desire is to your husband. What does that mean? Whatever your husband desires in righteousness, you need to desire that. Your desire. What's it? Matter of fact, hold on. Hold on. We almost done, family. Hold on. That's what I want to do. Desire, to wish or long for, to crave or want, to express or wish to obtain, to ask for, to request, a longing or a craving, as for something that brings satisfaction or enjoyment, a wish, a request, something desired. Anything that you wish to do, anything that you want to request, anything that would make you feel that there is a level of fulfillment. All of that needs to be, what's the word? I can't think of the word right now, and I just had it. All of that needs to, in short, needs to go through a filtering process through your husband. Is that what my husband would want? Is that what my husband will be looking for? Your desire needs to be matched up and equal to his desire in righteousness. You need to be willing to submit yourselves to your husband as you would submit to God. First and foremost, and that's a big deal, because if sisters decided to willfully give over their power, for lack of better words, to their husband, and willfully serve their husband in every facet that he needs, marriages will flourish. But here's the thing, sisters be feeling like, well, what if he's doing this? What if he's doing that? Sweetheart, you married him. This is why it's important to take your time when you courting. Because either way it goes, your virtue, and I'll say it again, your virtue is not predicated upon how any other person treats you. Your virtue is not predicated or determined by what he did. Your virtue is what God told you to do, period. That's it. That's all. So, sisters, submit to your husbands. That's gospel. That's God. That's Bible. Proverbs 31. We're going to bounce around through there. Then we're going to hit that Sirach 26. Right now, we talk about embracing your role, knowing your role and embracing your role. Proverbs chapter 31. We're going to bounce around through here. I'm going to try to summarize them. Start at verse... What do I want? Read verse 10, then drop down to verse 15.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 31 and verse 10. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies.
So first and foremost, King Lemuel's mom's like, listen, a virtuous woman is few and far between. Understand that from the rip. So sisters, understand that y'all not as virtuous as y'all think y'all are, because King Lemuel's mom, back in that time when people were a lot closer to the culture, they were a lot more submissive than y'all in Babylon. So if y'all think y'all Proverbs 31, you need to check yourself. You got a long ways to go, princess. 31 and drop down to verse 15.
Verse 15. She riseth also while it is yet night.
Come on.
And giveth meat to her household.
Embracing your role is not being slothful. Getting up before the sun to make sure your house is taken care of. That is a part of your duty. Will your husband be up? Absolutely, because he got work and he got business to handle too. Now, if you got a lazy husband, sweetheart, you chose that. But you need to be up to take care of the house before the house is up. 16.
Verse 16. She considereth the field and buyeth it.
Come on.
With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard.
She got a whole business mind, because we read that in verse 18 as well. We read that in verse 20. She's business minded. She's trying to get to work. She's trying to make sure that she's able to what's the word? Help build up what this man is trying to build up. That's why people are like, well, you know, the scripture, brothers are supposed to be provided. Brothers want multiple wives, but they ain't got multiple incomes. And da-da-da-da. Sweetheart, listen, it says that she perceives a field. She considers a field. She buys it with the fruit of her hands. She planted the vineyard. So she bought a field to start planting. You think she's going to eat all of that? No. But watch this. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands to the, she layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands lay hold of the distaff. What is merchandise? It's something that you've acquired in order to sell. Something that you created in order to sell. Clearly, she grinding. She's a grinder. She's a hustler, sweetheart. All that garbage about, no. A righteous woman, even just like, I think it was Tobit or Tobias' wife, Anna, she had to find women's work when Tobit was handicapped. There was work out there for women. As a woman, you can't be lazy. As a woman, you can't be not driven to add to the house. You can't. Drop down to verse 19 and 20. I'm sorry, I just breezed through that. Drop down to verse 25.
Verse 25. Strength and honor are her clothing.
Strength and honor is what she's covered in. Strength and honor. Underline that word honor. Come on.
And she shall rejoice in her time to come.
26, this is my favorite. A lot of people forget this one.
She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness.
As a daughter of Zion, as a woman of God, as a woman striving to be a wife, you got to learn to control your damn mouth. You got to learn to speak life. You got to learn that even in disagreements, you can't be calling your husband out of his name and all type of niggas and B words and all. You can't do that. You got to deal in wisdom and have effective communication like we talked about earlier. That's your role. That's your place. Because you're supposed to submit to him and respect him like you would God. Guess what? If you didn't agree with something the Most High said, first of all, you probably going to get judged for it, but you wouldn't be calling him out of his name. You wouldn't be calling him no B word. You wouldn't be calling him no this nigga. You wouldn't be calling him no dog. You wouldn't be calling him wicked mother. None of that. You wouldn't do that. Have that same respect for your husband. You should be having that same respect overall just for people, but have that same respect for your husband. 27.
Verse 27. She looketh well to the ways of her household.
Come on.
And eateth not the bread of idleness.
And she ain't idle. She ain't idle. Knowing your role is you're not lazy, you're not idle, you're not, here's the thing. You can be busy and still be idle. The hell you talking about, Darash? You can be busy and you can still be idle. You can be busy on YouTube. You can be busy watching TV, social media, scrolling through social media. You can be busy on the phone gossiping. You can be busy. It's telling you to be productive. A virtuous woman, your role as a wife is to make sure that you're being productive for the kids, for the house, for your husband. Making sure that whatever it is you're doing is to build. Make sure you always building. Make sure you're always being productive. That is your role. You are the backbone of this house. The house will fall if you are not doing what you're supposed to do. Build. Be productive. Sirach chapter 26. We got one more precept, couple more verses. Ecclesiasticus chapter, I don't went way past it. Ecclesiasticus 26, read verse 1 and 2 first.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 26 and verse 1. Blessed is the man that hath a virtuous wife.
Come on.
For the number of his days shall be double.
Come on.
A virtuous woman rejoiceth her husband.
Come on.
And he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace.
What? In peace. Ooh, I love that. It says that a virtuous woman will add numbers to her husband's life because he's living in peace. For the number of his days shall be double. Ain't no stress. I'm living happy. Do you understand that stress is a silent killer amongst our people, especially? But amongst society, stress is really a killer. If you are a woman speaking life into your husband, if you are a woman that's helping to push your husband to greatness, speaking those affirmations and life into him, you are helping his life to be doubled. Verse 2 says, she rejoiced her husband and shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. That's why his life will be doubled. Drop down to verse 13.
Verse 13. The grace of a wife delighteth her husband.
Her grace, the way she moves, is going to delight her husband. Come on.
And her discretion will...
Her what?
And her discretion...
That wisdom, how she conducts herself, the decisions she make will do what?
Will fatten his bones.
It's gonna fatten his, but he's gonna feel good about that. It's gonna bring life into him because ain't nothing more stressful than when your wife do some stupid stuff and now everybody looking at you like, bro, ain't that your? Damn, yeah, that was her. Yeah, nah, we gotta go to counsel now. Yeah, no, I deal with it when I get to the house. Your foolishness and lack of discretion is going to kill this man. But when you use wisdom, it's going to fatten his bones. Read on.
Verse 14. A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord.
It's one of my favorite verses. Come on.
And there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed.
This ain't talking about a woman that just walk around quiet with her mouth closed. This is talking about a woman that's not argumentative. It says a woman who is silent and wants to have her mind instructed is a beautiful thing. Sis, you got to understand your role is to be taught and led by your husband. Be taught and be led by your husband. And you can't do that if you always running your mouth. You can't do that if you always got something to say. You can't do that if you always got an opinion. Let that man lead. Well, he's a foolish leader. Well, you chose that foolish leader. So guess what? You better utilize your wisdom like Judith when she talked to the elders and try to get your husband to see your side. But you better check yourself and let that man lead. Have a mind well instructed. Don't be willing to argue all the time and always have something to say. Be a silent and loving woman. Do me a favor. Let's read verse, what do we read, 14? Let's, a shamefaced and faithful woman. Let's read verse 16.
Verse 16. As the sun when it ariseth in the high heaven, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house.
That's how it said, take care of your house. It said the sun in the high heavens at noon is when it's the brightest, the most glorious. It said that's how beautiful a woman look when her house is together. Make sure you take care of the house. Stop whining and complaining about it. Handle your business at the house because that is your first priority. And when you do that, you the sexiest thing alive. Ain't nothing more sexier than that. Verse, I don't need that. Verse 8, do I need that? I don't even need the rest of that. Sisters, read through Sirach 26. Then the last piece, 1 Corinthians 7:3. Y'all write that down. I'm going to just give y'all the scriptures. 1 Corinthians 7:3. Write that down. Proverbs 5:18 through 19. Write that down. Ecclesiastes 9:9. Write that down. Those are the main ones. The other ones we don't have to hit. 1 Corinthians chapter 7:3. Render due benevolence. Render due benevolence. Due benevolence. What does due mean? It's owed. Render that benevolence that's owed. Sisters, handle your business and your husband's going to give you that. But here's the thing. People be like, well, benevolence is, we lay together. We had sex. No. Due benevolence is affection, love, care. All of that good stuff encompasses benevolence. Render due benevolence. Render due affection. Render due love. It ain't no, I don't feel like it. Oh, but I got this going. No. If it's owed, give it to that man. Give it to that woman. The love and the, don't be selfish. You can't be married if you selfish. I don't feel like it. I don't want to. No. If you can't be selfless, you're not meant to be married. Render due love, affection, benevolence, and run them cheeks too. Run that too. That's a part of benevolence. And it also talks so Satan won't tempt you for your incontinency. Run it up. He wants sex, give him sex. She wants sex, give him sex. Okay, maybe it's a little graphic. I ain't going to get too graphic. Be affectionate toward one another. That includes laying with each other. Run that in righteousness. Proverbs 5:18 through 19 says, rejoice with the wife of your youth or your bosom and let her breast satisfy thee. Ain't nothing wrong with getting a little nasty. Ain't nothing wrong with rejoicing with your wife. Being happy that you're married. Being happy with your wife. There's nothing wrong with that. Rejoice with your wife. Enjoy that love and affection. That physical intimacy. Enjoy that. Love that. That is a part of marriage. That is how you keep things spicy. That is how you keep the marriage up. Because I feel that you love me. I feel that you want to be with me. I feel that you want to be touched by me. I feel that you want to be affectionate with me. That keeps us emotionally connected one to another. There's nothing wrong with that. Ecclesiastes 9:9, same thing. You should live joyful with the wife of your youth. It says, live joyfully with the wife of your youth, the wife of your vanity. Because Ecclesiastes talk about how vain everything is, but he said, hell, even though it's vain, make sure you live joyfully with your wife. Y'all got to render due benevolence and love toward one another. That's how we develop and build a strong marriage. So real quick recap. Number one, we went over how God felt about marriage. It is honorable. It is something that is to be revered, respected, reverenced, looked highly upon. Number two, we started to deal with how do we develop this strong marriage? Develop a strong friendship first. Prove a friend. Courting is not in the Bible. It's not, but proving is. And it's stupid for you to not court because now you don't know what type of demons this person got. You don't know what this person is going through. You don't get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you don't see the good, the bad, and the ugly, guess what? Once the good, the bad, and the ugly come, you're probably going to be like, damn, I was not expecting that. I can't deal with that. Now you're going to be in a miserable marriage. So prove a friend. Make sure that they're marriage material. Make sure you're a marriage material. Also understand that marriage is not perfect and you will have problems in the flesh. Then we went on to communication, understanding how to communicate effectively and deal righteously with one another. Then we went into talking really quickly about the divine order. Then the roles, knowing your roles. In a nutshell, that was the lesson, and I pray to the Most High that there was some edification given, and I pray to the Lord that those that are married, those that are seeking to be married, that you guys will take heed to what was said to help build your marriage up. Like I said, if you ain't done it yet, when you walk into a man's house, take your shoes off, wipe your shoes off at the door. Show that sign of respect. If you ain't done it yet, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you're sharing the content because, again, for me personally, from what I've seen, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can vouch for that too, this is something that a lot of people don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole when we talk about what marriage really is. And if they do touch it, they touch it from a surface level. And there are a lot of things that a lot of people don't want to say because they don't want to offend men or they don't want things to be taboo. The Bible says what it says at the end of the day. Women are supposed to act a certain way. Men are supposed to act a certain way. Guess what? If you feel a way about it, you got a problem with God, not with me. Make sure that y'all sharing the content, y'all getting it out there because I feel like this is very important. Like I said, a strong marriage builds a strong house. A bunch of strong marriages build a strong community. A bunch of strong communities will build a strong nation. But it starts in the house. Make sure y'all continue to tune in. Every first Monday Q&A, every other Monday, but beside the first Monday is our Spanish class, Los Discípulos de las Palabras. Every Tuesday, Bible Basics. Every Wednesday, World History According to the Bible. Second and fourth Thursdays, we have Stick to the Script. Friday, we got the lineup. We got Yashamai, the Blue Strip with Yashamai and Kabash. We got Room 144 with Apostle Ash or Bishop Banaya. Then we got my class, Sound Doctrine, with me and my brother Yahweh. Saturday, y'all know what it is. Bishop Tazayawan, do what he always do, bring a powerful lesson with Feed the Sheep. We got daily bread for y'all every day, and Lord willing, very soon we're going to have these Sunday classes cracking too. We trying to make sure that every single day, and War for the Kingdom with Bishop Yazaquil, excuse me. His class is at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Make sure y'all tuning into these classes, getting that daily bread. We trying to make sure that brothers and sisters are really strengthening their spirit and understanding the foundation because the foundation is pertinent to your salvation, and a lot of us don't understand that, truly understand that. So if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't yet, make sure you give the video a like. If you haven't yet, make sure you share the content. This has been another segment of Sound Doctrine. We appreciate y'all, Israel. I pray to the Most High that y'all got some edification out of this. I pray to the Most High that you guys will be able to utilize the information that you got from this. With that, my brother Yahweh, myself, it's getting late. It's almost midnight on this side. For some of y'all, I appreciate y'all for sticking around. It's almost 3 o'clock on y'all side. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Most High willing, we catch y'all tomorrow for Feed the Sheep. Shalom, Israel.